Hello and welcome to Planet Smasher HQ. I have spent a year making new games and I want to show you what is behind this curtain. Hello and welcome. My name's Mike Hutchinson. I design tabletop games such as Gaslands, A Billion Suns and Hobgoblin Brutal Fantasy Battles. About a year ago I made the frankly ridiculous decision to try and take tabletop game design full-time. I quit my career and I have been making videos and games all year in an attempt to figure out how to turn this passion of mine into a real full-time job that I can hopefully do for the rest of my life. A lot of this year was spent getting ideas out of my brain and onto paper that I had been sort of cooking up for a while, and because of circumstances with my job I'd been unable to kind of do anything with those ideas. So a lot of this year was spent splurging out game ideas into prototypes. At the start of the year I assumed that I would work throughout the year to try and get to a single project that I would take to Kickstarter in 2024 because that was clearly going to be the way that I was going to be able to most sort of immediately create a sustainable business for myself. I'm working on pitches and discussions with publishers for more books and games in the future, but those things take ages to land with the publisher, and they also take absolutely ages to pay out again because you got to wait for the book to be written and then published, and then royalties come after that. So it's exciting that I'm getting some conversations happening with game publishers, but that's like my paychecks for like 2027 and I have to get there. However, over the summer it occurred to me that my plan to motor towards a Kickstarter in 2024 was causing me some distress. It was causing me some doubt about exactly why I was doing it and why I was doing it as early as I thought I was going to. I still had lots to learn. I still had a lot of work to do building this YouTube channel, and I had not yet kind of got confidence about what it was that I wanted to put out. I had loads of game ideas. I didn't know which was going to be the best one. I also, I think, came to a bit of a realization over the summer that part of why I was planning to do a Kickstarter in 2024 was I wanted to prove to myself that this thing that I had decided to do was viable, that there was going to be a practical way of making money out of it. But I didn't need to run it this year. I had saved up enough to get me into 2025. I will have to run a Kickstarter in 2025, but we'll get to that. And the other thing is I started to realise that maybe the reason I was motoring towards getting a Kickstarter up and running is that it was an excuse to create lots of work and jobs and busyness for myself, which would mean that I could be busy doing something and I wouldn't necessarily have to confront some of the realities about exactly what it is that I wanted to do and in what manner. And so these thoughts came together, and in the summer I decided actually I wasn't going to do a Kickstarter this year. I was going to continue to rely on my savings for a bit longer, give myself another sort of 5 to 6 months of building the audience, building awareness, getting game ideas out there and tested, and spend a bit of additional time working on what I think the first project will be, getting the artwork commissioned, all that good stuff. So what I did instead was I set myself an alternative goal. I have had Dragon Meet, which is a London kind of RPG and tabletop gaming convention, booked for a while. And I thought I would use the date of Dragon Meet. As I record this video, it's just in a few days. I'm making my final preparations. And I wanted to challenge myself to take 8 new games to Dragon Meet. I wanted to self-publish them, self-produce them, make them kind of as, cheap and cheery zines that I could, just capture all of the work that I have done this year and concretize it into something physical that I can put into people's hands and that I can hold and flip through and say, yeah, I've done loads of work this year. So that brings us to what is behind this curtain. Let's take a look. Ta-da! So I've spent the last 3 or 4 weeks gathering together all of the games that I've been working on and putting them into a lovely laid out form with a nice cover and a front and a back. And I got them printed up. I got them printed up locally in Canterbury with a lovely local prints company that have done beautiful jobs digitally printing them in colour and saddle stitching them into little booklets. So I have now got 7 new games. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about each of these, but I think what I'll do is I'll do a proper video on each of these games. Some of these have already had some instructional videos, like Space Gits. You can go and watch the instructional video for that. Rad Pirates of the Toxic Sand, I've got a really massive video still in editing, which captures the entire design process of that game, because I did basically the whole game in about 48 hours. So let's take a quick look at these. Here's Rotvärlden, which is my game of sorceress warband skirmishes. This is a fantasy game for about kind of 10 to 40 miniatures. So it's kind of like a similar scale to sort of Saga or a really small game of Age of Sigmar. And in this game, you have a wizard, you're haunted, and they get to choose from a list of spells. They're invulnerable and they get lots of activations, so they're extremely important linchpin. You build a warband, but regardless of which of the game modes that you choose, you tend to only deploy about a third of your warband at the start of the game, and then the rest will get summoned in by your sorceress wizard general, so that you can plop the units down as and when you need them. I'm really excited about this game. This Rotvärlden builds on some of the design mechanics in Mystic Skies, but it also builds on some of the mechanics that I have in A Billion Suns, and hopefully kind of makes something different and maybe even better than both of those. Some of the ideas in this are also kind of me exploring ideas that might make it into the second edition of A Billion Suns. So I really am proud of Rotvärlden, Realms of Carnage, and yep, that's a fancy skirmish game. Also a skirmish game is Space Gits. This is, I'm particularly proud of Space Gits. This is a very strange miniatures game because it is mostly dexterity based. The way that you move, the way that you resolve shooting, and indeed the way that wounds and activations work is all related to rolling dice and stacking dice as you activate your units, and as they get damaged, they get a little stack of dice next to them. If you move the orc, you have to move the tower of dice with the orc, and if it ever falls over, so does the orc that it is next to. This is a skirmish game that I think is very different and interesting, and this is probably what I'll end up taking to Kickstarter first next year. I am getting all of the artwork done at the moment. You can see one of the early concept sketches from Till Forster here, but he's working on fully rendered art throughout the book. I am wanting to get this in people's hands so that they can give me some feedback before I make the full and proper lovely version next year. This is Rad Pirates of the Toxic Sands, which is a miniatures skirmish game that only requires 1 box. It was my entry to the 1 box wargame competition, and it is really fun, and I'm really excited to get a proper lovely version of it printed up, because I spent some time making these lovely colourful photos and making kit-bashed post-apocalyptic ships for it. To play this game, you just need 1 box of miniatures from Warlord's Black Seas range and a full bits box to post-apocalypse them up. This game has got a few scenarios at the back, as well as some movement templates and this really neat wind gauge. These you can photocopy or you can download them from the website as well. So that is Rad Pirates. This is a really fun skirmish game. This is Crudbucket, which I talked about fairly recently on the channel. This features some beautiful artwork from Ulrich Wary, who sent me an email to ask if I would consider making a Blood Bowl type game using my Chess 28 system. I said that I wasn't planning to do that, and then he made a cover for the game, thus forcing it to exist. This is got some colour photos that I added, as well as more illustrations from Ulrich, which look fantastic. I included some pictures of some beautiful fantasy football miniatures from Torchlight models, which you can download as STLs, or I got someone on Etsy to send me some. So this is played on a chessboard and is a sort of it's a sort of Blood Bowl type game, except it's a little bit smaller. It's a bit like a kind of Blitz Bowl scale game. You play with a single goal in the middle, and no one gets killed, so the game doesn't just descend into a punching match as if it was a war game. Now, the rules for Crudbucket are about 16 pages long, and then there are a bunch of teams in the back, so you've got different character cards for different models that you can include in your teams. Pretty pleased with that. Some of the teams probably still need a little bit of balancing, so if you find out which is the broken Crudbucket team, please let me know. Alright, so then there are 3 others that I'm really, really excited about. I will talk first about Flicking Heck. Now, this is a game that came out of the prototyping and development process for a Gaslands board game that I am working on. I'm pitching. It hasn't been picked up, so it's not something that I can say is coming, but in the process of prototyping and trying to discover what kind of tabletop games for a more sort of family-friendly or board game audience might work, I hit upon this idea, which is, what if you don't glue the wheels of your Hot Wheels cars and you flick them around the table? So this is it's quite a kid-friendly, very simple, fun, tactile dexterity game where you make a racetrack out of Jenga blocks and then you flick the car around, and there are rules for what happens when you crash, how many flicks you're allowed, and it has a little dice system where if you crash into people, you might give them free flick tokens so that they get more to do on their turn. You can build up hazards. Those hazards can cause you to explode if you build too many, but if you build up a load of free flick tokens, you can recover your car. So this is a really fun dexterity racing game using toy cars. It's not really Gaslands, although I suppose I could build more detail into the system, but I've deliberately kept this really simple and kind of family friendly. This one I am planning to give away at Dragon Meet to any kids that come by. So if you're under 18 and you stop by at Dragon Meet, then you can have a copy of Flicking Heck for free. Mums and dads, I won't be selling it for very much either. You should pick it up for your kids. This has had a heck of a positive reaction from the cousins and from my kids, and I really think there's something in this. I don't know if this will be a thing that I take to Kickstarter soonish. It might be. The rules work great. It would do fantastically in a box with some custom dice and maybe some Jenga blocks or some racing track pieces. I don't know, this one is really interesting and exciting to me. It's got some potential for some broad appeal that I like. Honestly, if anyone from Mattel is watching, come talk to me about Flicking Heck. Okay, so this has been an incredibly long time coming. This is finally a proper, finished, edited, laid out version of my game Perilous Tales, which has been available in early access, I think now since 2016. It's been played by loads of people. Over the last couple of years, people keep coming up to me at shows and saying that how much they've enjoyed Perilous Tales, particularly over the pandemic. My mate Ash Barker did a couple of videos on it and really got some awareness for this. It's a solo or co-op miniatures adventure game where you set up a small table and threat markers act as sort of hidden fog of war for the monsters and the other evil machinations that will move against your team. This is now a proper version of the game where I have corrected all of the typos and I've added some lovely artwork from Sean Sutter. I have tidied up some of the bits and pieces, and I've also added some of the rules that I always meant to add. So there are things at the back now about building different kinds of archetypes for your party, how to have a continued serialized set of adventures with XP and advancement for your models. And then there are a bunch of different monsters at the back of the book here. The objectives and perils that that will affect your game are listed here, and I'm also offering a set of cards that you can download from the website and print out, slice up and sleeve up to play with. This is a piece of artwork from Dan Morrison that I got commissioned at least 4 years ago now, when I was planning to take this to Kickstarter, just before I got my job at Epic Games and ended up not in a position to be able to do anything like that. So I meant to make a proper layout of this so many times, and it just slipped down and down the priority, and I don't know why. And putting this together into a format that is like really nicely presented and that I can now offer to people is really, really exciting, and I'm just delighted to finally be able to hold this in my hand. So if you are coming to Dragonmeet, you can pick up a copy of this, and I'll talk in a little minute about what I plan to do with these new zine booklets. Okay, the final book that I made is something new for me. So all of these are miniatures games, which is obviously what I am known for. But as I embarked on this journey of being a full-time games designer, part of what I want to achieve is I want to broaden my portfolio, and I want to make board and card games, and I also want to make role-playing games. And so this is my first finished role-playing game. This is The Crawling Chaos, a role-playing game of weird demises. I've been working on this game in the background for a number of years. It is a one-shot, zero prep story game. The creative impulse behind this game was that thought that so many of us have had when we play Cthulhu-themed games, which is, this is nothing like a Lovecraft story. And one of the things that's nothing like a Lovecraft story is anything that has a team of protagonists. That sort of ensemble cast simply doesn't appear in Lovecraft stories. Not really. I can't think of any examples apart from maybe the small group of people in the Dunwich Horror. So what I wanted to do was to figure out if I could invert the normal format of role-playing games in order to deliver something that felt a lot more like a Lovecraftian narrative. And I hit on this comment from Lovecraft that he puts in notes on writing weird fiction, where he says weird fiction is a fiction of incident, not action. And that really got me thinking about how there is a single protagonist, a narrator, and stuff just kind of happens to them. It's not like a heroic protagonist or a group of protagonists where they're taking heroic actions and they're moving the story forward with their decisions and their actions. Stuff just happens. So this is a game which inverts the normal format of role-playing games. There is one player that plays the narrator. They always speak in the first person, and everybody else plays as architects who have a pool of points that they can use to introduce incidents and threats and interrupt the activities of the protagonist in order to usher them inexorably towards an eldritch doom. It's a zero prep game where you don't necessarily know what it is that is going to happen to the protagonist. You don't know what doom is going to befall the narrator. There are some tables in this that allow you to generate some ideas about what will happen to them. And there are also tables for creating your narrator, gathering together what the architect's pool points are. And I'm really, really excited about this. I think this is a really fun one-shot horror story game. It plays great with anywhere up to about 4 or 5 players. It also includes solo rules so that you can narrate your own weird doom if that is what you would like to do. It plays out in about 1 to 2 hours. This one is something that I very much wanted to get made before going to Dragonmeet. Dragonmeet is, of course, historically a tabletop role-playing convention, and one that is kind of, very much a place that smaller publishers and indie publishers gather together. There's a lot of zines to be purchased at Dragonmeet, and I wanted to turn up at Dragonmeet with not only a role-playing game, but a role-playing game that I feel can stand out. I'm really pleased with the design of this. There's a Sean Sutter doodle that he gave to me to put on the front. So The Crawling Chaos is my first role-playing game. I doubt it will be my last. So, 7 new games. I should say there is an 8th new book on my shelf as well. It won't fit in that slot over there, but you may have heard me talking at length on the Rule of Carnage channel about Glenn and Mai's new book, The Fundamentals of Tabletop Miniature Games Design. This just got published this month as well, so I am going to be selling this at Dragon Meet alongside copies of Hobgoblin and Gaslands and all the other lovely things that I have made. But I'm really excited that this sort of collection of 8 new things will adorn my table. It makes me really feel like a maker of games rather than just a writer of games for other people. So what am I going to do with all of these? Well, I've had 50 copies of each of these printed up and I'm going to sell them to people at conventions. My first thought was, I should open a web store and I should sell these to you guys at home so that you can buy them right now and I'll send them to you. It seemed like a good idea, but I started asking around and getting opinions. And to be honest with you, the things that I learnt that I didn't know already about the way that international shipping works, the way that it's very inconsistent about how sales tax is applied to books, and how if I was going to sell other things like the card decks for Hobgoblin, it was going to get even more complicated. And you know what? This is the whole thing that I was wanting to avoid by focusing on becoming the best designer of games that I could. I don't want to worry about that sort of logistics. I want to find somebody else or some other people to worry about that. So the next question is, well, beyond selling these physically to people at conventions, what else can I do to get them into people's hands? And I think the obvious answer is obvious, which is I am going to get these up on some print-on-demand services. In each of these cases, these games have been available as early access. Most of them are available on my itch account, so that's planetsmashergames.itch.io. I'm going to upload all of these new shiny delightful versions to itch so that they become the versions that you can buy there. I think I'm also going to put them up on some other sites, so I'll probably put them up on Drive-Thru. And I'm going to look at Drive-Thru's print on demand, and I'm going to look at Amazon's print on demand, and I might look at a few other print on demand places as well, because I would like you guys to be able to order these wherever you are in the world and to get access to this stuff. It's interesting because I was nervous at first about laying these out myself and making what might be perceived as slightly amateurish versions of my games, because I'm still learning layout and I haven't got everything perfect yet. But the other thing that's really true is I believe in just doing things, making mistakes, and getting better as a result of doing things. And to be honest with you, these guys here that I got printed first, I already feel like these ones are better than these ones because I learnt things about this, particularly about what font sizes looked good, whether the layouts were suitable for an A5 size, and these ones here they just look better already, and that was only like a week and a half sort of difference in experience. So I am going to get over myself and I'm just going to make sure that you guys can get hold of these games. In every one of these cases, there is an awesome tabletop game experience to be had, even if, every little bug or, every possibility of making the game more lovely with more photos and more, diagrams. Even if I haven't fixed everything, every one of these games is extremely fun to play, and I would like to think, more fun than some other things out there that have got a more finished and polished look to them. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to update them digitally on itch ASAP, and I'm going to figure out how to get them up on print on demand. And what I'll do is I'll probably do a video on each of them as they go live on print on demand, and I'll tell you more about them and I'll show off how they work. And yeah, just makes me really happy to have gathered together the work of so many months and honestly like years of thinking about these things. And what's exciting is this is not at all the end of it. So I had to stop making them because it's Dragon Meet in a few days, but there are other games that you know about like Flagstone, which I didn't get to finish. I have some really exciting ideas about a bit of a re-theme and a new visual look for this that I want to spend a little bit more time on and take a time to kind of really present this wonderfully. So Flagstone is coming soon. I've been working on another role-playing game project. This is called Precinct 401. I might end up putting this out in a prototype version soon enough. It's sort of half done. The problem with this is that I inspired myself with lots of AI artwork, and now I have to sort of figure out how to replace all that AI artwork with something that I have made myself, and I'm not sure what to do with it. So that's another role-playing game. I've got this, Juggernauts, which is like a mech combat game, kind of a sort of Adeptus Titanicus meets Gaslands, super simple, build your own mech kind of a situation. This is going to be like an 8-page game, but I want to build some factions for it because I want to show people how to make, not just big mechs, but also like, bio-titans and tyrannid beasties and kaiju and stuff, as well as adding a mission system to it. So I didn't get that done in time. There's also Junk Space, which I'm really excited about. This and the other game, Incunabula, these need a few really solid design turns. I'm extremely excited about this game. I know that some of you guys are extremely excited about these games because you keep telling me. This is essentially a genre-mashing skirmish game that is a little bit like Malifaux and Inquisitor smashed together. And this is going to be my X-Wing replacement. This is a sort of Gaslands meets X-Wing with a kind of Stargrave campaign system. There's tons more yet to come. I am feeling like the gas is really burning hot at the moment. I am going to have to figure out how to get one of these projects to Kickstarter next year, probably Space Gits, because I need your money to feed my children, and I'm excited to see how all of this unfolds. If you are in London and you're coming to Dragonmeet, then come and say hello and have a peruse through all of these. And I'm so delighted to be able to share this colourful bookshelf of new Planet Smasher games. All right, let me know in the comments which of these games you're interested in and which I should try to get up onto print on demand first. I am so thankful for you following along with what's going on here. The most immediate way you can support me making more of these games for you is by going over to my Patreon at patreon.com/planetsmashergames and consider subscribing to one of the tiers there. Patreon is a really important way for how I am funding this wild venture. You can also subscribe to this channel as I put out more videos detailing what's inside these rulebooks and showing you how the games work. But until next time, unless I see you at Dragonmeet, I will say bye-bye!